prosecution started its cross-examination of Serena Wee, the last defendant in the City Harvest trial, this week. The prosecutor questioned Wee on her understanding of an arm's-length transaction. Wee told the court that it is one that offers fair terms to both parties. Her understanding, she said, was that two parties can be related and carry out an arm's-length transaction. Wee also testified that in the case of CHC and Extron, the factors affecting the terms were non-commercial and that the two entities took the view of the long-term relationship between them. She agreed with the prosecution's description of it as a give-and-take relationship. Arm's length was the phrase that was hotly debated yesterday in court. Tani Peng's lawyer, senior counsel Anne Srinivasan, invited the prosecution to define its meaning of arm's length. After the prosecution tried to explain that it drew the meaning from each individual accused person, Paul Sia, the lawyer for Sharon Tan, stood up to clarify if the prosecution's position was that the bonds were sham because the transactions were not at arm's length. The DPP then replied that his position was that the investments were sham whether arm's length or not. Wee's lawyer, senior counsel Andre Maniam, concurred with Srinivasan that the prosecution had in its submission at the end of its case used the term arm's length with definitions. The court ruled for the matter to be dealt with at submissions. The prosecution sought to show that several actions Serena Wee took were to create the appearance that Extron was independently run. The DPP took issue with an email in which Wee, while talking about the appointment of a new manager at Extron, wrote that his title is for show, makes it more legit. Wee explained that it was to avoid external parties misunderstanding that Extron was a church-related company and be biased against it. With regards to an email in which Kong Hee's opinion was sought on deciding who should be check signatories for Extron, Wee told the court that Extron directors were the ones who ultimately gave the approval for any transaction. Wee repeatedly emphasized throughout cross-examination that she fully expected the Extron directors to exercise discretion when they signed on the documents. The prosecution continued to allege that the Extron bonds were sham because there was lack of concern that the bonds could not be redeemed upon maturity. Wee disagreed with the prosecution's view. She explained that when she did the worst-case scenario planning with projected sales of 200,000 copies of the US album, she had raised concerns about Extron's ability to redeem the bonds precisely because it was important for Extron to fulfill its legal obligations. She echoed her co-defendant's explanation that that scenario was a hypothetical worst-case consideration and that her belief was that the projection of 1.5 million copies sold as projected by the US producers. Another point the prosecution picked on was selective disclosure by Wee and her co-defendants. Wee repeated explanations and objections which echoed the evidence of the other defendants. The deputy public prosecutor questioned Wee on the events leading up to the first Extron bonds. At the end of 2006, when the cost of the English music album started to escalate, there was a need for the defendants to source for funds for the crossover project. Chew Eng Han went to Hong Kong to obtain a loan from CITIC Kawa Bank. He then suggested to Wee that the church should place a fixed deposit in the bank to build relationship with the bank. When the bank loan didn't happen, Tani Peng asked if it was possible to give Extron a loan from the building fund. The court also saw in an email that part of the advance rental City Harvest Church gave to Extron was used to pay for the music album. Wee told the court that the church board knew about all these actions and proposals and board members had given their approval. She explained that almost all the board members were donors to Extron, so they knew that Sun Ho was doing an album in US and that Extron needed funds for the project. She added that they were aware of the advance rental given to Extron to fund the music album and of Chew going to Hong Kong to try to secure a loan. Court will resume at 9:30 a.m. on Monday. For more information, log on to citynews.sg. I'm Andrea Lim for City News, Singapore.